Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Calls. This is the 2026 API DFS Tactics show. Per usual on a Wednesday night, we're going to take our final look at the forecast, see if a wave advantage has developed in Orlando, Florida at Bay Hill for the Arnold Palmer Invitational. Even though it is a limited field, there could be a wave advantage develop, considering players will still go out morning and afternoon wave. So we'll check the weather. We're going to take a look at the mixed condition model that I've made for Bay Hill. We're going to take a look at my rankings. We'll cover the 2026 picks challenge between Gabe and I. And of course, like we've done the past couple of weeks, we're going to make a community lineup and submit it into a GPP. So we have a lot to get into. Let's get into it. All statistics provided tonight and moving forward are from both Fantasy National and the Rabbit Hole over at BetSperts. The Rabbit Hole has acquired or is merging with with Fantasy National. So go make sure you go check out the Rabbit Hole. Has everything you need at your fingertips to make the correct wagers and optimize your lineups for this week and every week. So go check out the Rabbit Hole. In the description of the video, there are links to all of the social media. First off, my X and Instagram, where earlier this week on Monday, I posted some research regarding the API, patterns of previous winners, things of that nature. And then yesterday, I posted some research regarding the Puerto Rico Open. There is an alternate field event going on simultaneously with the Arnold Palmer. It's a great opportunity to get a lot of value, especially in the outright market, if you're willing to put in the work. I had a full show, research, data, and DFS last night on the Puerto Rico Open. And I also posted that research earlier yesterday. So if you want to see the weekly research that I do on the PGA Tour, give me a follow at your preferred social media site. X is also where I place my weekly betting cards and top player usage in the DFS contest I play. That comes out every Wednesday after the DFS Tactics show. So that'll come out later this evening. I will have the full API and Puerto Rico betting card. I'll have the players I'm using most often in my lineups for both the Puerto Rico Open and the API. So a lot of information to come out later this evening after the show. So make sure you give me a follow over at X if you want to see that. Lastly, for social media, Gabe's handle's in the description. He writes a great article called The Fringe. Would not recommend it if I did not believe in it. By subscribing to his article, you're going to get access to his chats, which are going to start back up here very soon. He's not going to be able to do one tonight since he let me know that he was pretty busy this Wednesday evening, but that'll start up here very, very soon, just in time for the Masters coming up and the Players next week. And by subscribing to his article, you're going to get his deluxe version as well. So make sure you're subscribed to that article. Make sure you're following him over on social media as well, because that is where we put our detailed write-ups for the 2026 Picks Challenge. So go show them some support. And lastly, for this intro, we are live. Chat's open. Want to hear from you. I see a couple of you in there already. I'll get to you as soon as I'm done with the intro here. But put your thoughts and opinions in the chat. I do need to type up a poll question, which I'll do very, very quickly. So would love to hear the community's thoughts on the poll question. Any questions you have on the API, player A versus player B, general strategy, lineup questions, feel free to put your thoughts and opinions in the chat. If you're not able to catch the show live, put your thoughts and opinions into the comments. I'll always get to those as well. And as we move forward throughout the evening, be thinking about the players that you might want to recommend for the community lineup that we'll put in a GPP later this evening. So be ready for that as well. So would love to hear from you all. Make sure you put your thoughts and opinions in the chat. So let's get into it. Let's figure out our strategies and our tactics for the 2026 API. And we're going to start, as we always do, on a Wednesday evening with the super forecast over at Windfinder. Good evening, John and Echoes and Trip. Thank you all very much for jumping in chat. Very much appreciated. I need to post a poll question. I forgot to type that out. So let me do that just very, very quickly. It'll be pretty basic, but since I am running a little bit, not necessarily behind, but since I just completely forgot, let me type this up real quick. And conveniently, there are 4 options for the question that I have. So I will answer any questions or anything like that here in a moment. I just want to make sure I get this put out to the community. Again, very, very basic question, since I forgot to type one up. Which 10K player are you fading? Is it Scotty? Is it Rory? Is it Tommy? Or is it Xander? And of course, throughout the evening, I'll give you my answer on that. John says, let's go. Time to make some money from Echoes. That's right. We're going to try, especially since it's a double tournament week. We've got a lot of opportunity to do so. So good evening to both of you. Good evening, Trip. Best of luck this week, Nick. I stuck with Ludwig Hovland, both in outright and in with the without markets. Okay. I don't mind Hovland this week. I'll get into why I'm still not a big fan of Ludwig here fairly soon, actually. But I don't hate Hovland. I'm just not as high on Ludwig. And then Echo says Putnam and Damon top 10 this week. I do agree with one of those two. One of those two I'm very, very high on this week. So when we go through the price board, we'll see who that is. But it's good to see all of you all in chat. Looking forward to the next signature event, the API. Again, remember, this is a limited field, limited cut. It is a master's cut, top 50 and ties, and anybody within 10 shots. So keep that in mind as we move forward throughout the evening. The weather for Bay Hill looks pretty good. Maybe a slight shower overnight. I've seen the possibility of a slight shower around lunchtime tomorrow. Nothing on Windfinder is suggesting that. That is from others that I listen to and the weather forecast or weather information that they gather from. Seems like there's a chance of a small shower. The wind does seem like it'll pick up a little bit in the afternoon, but not a whole lot here. Not a whole lot. This is just simply play your guys that you think are going to play Bay Hill the best this week. The morning is maybe the gustier winds, but the more sustained winds in the afternoon. Both days seem very, very similar. And then if we zoom out, take a look at the weekend, looks kind of the same. Gustier winds in the morning. The winds pick up in the afternoon, but more sustained. And then Sunday, maybe the worst of the wind towards the end of the day, but not a whole lot here. Not a whole lot here. There hadn't been a whole lot of rain in the area in the week leading up to the tournament. There's not a whole lot of rain in the forecast during the tournament. This is going to play very fast. It's going to play very firm, just the way the organizers want it to around Bay Hill. So there's a look at the weather. Again, not a whole lot here. Just play the guys that you think are going to play Bay Hill the best. We're going to close that out, and we're going to go over to the rabbit hole. And I have the miscellaneous metrics up. And again, the more I'm getting comfortable with the rabbit hole, the more I'm starting to find different data points that are at least intriguing, even if I didn't put them in the mixed condition model. Good evening, Joanne. Thanks for jumping in chat. Very much appreciated. Hopefully you're ready for the API. You have all your wagers and lineups set. And if you don't, hopefully we'll provide you the information that you need to finalize and optimize your lineups and feel comfortable about it going into tomorrow. Good to see you in chat this evening. Very much appreciated. The miscellaneous metrics in here, in the rabbit hole, this is showing different things regarding like height of different shots, club head speed, ball speed, launch angle, spin rates, etc. It even has AM and PM scoring. I want to direct your attention first off to this apex height. And the reason being, with Bay Hill being so fast and so firm, particularly the greens, it's well or widely regarded as having very, very firm greens. And you see Keegan, who's had bunch of success around the Arnold Palmer Invitational. You see he's got the highest apex height. If we look at average, That's what that's showing. I'm just showing it by rank. But at least early on in 2026, he's got the highest apex height. And again, I don't think this is so. I think there's a lot of correlating data here, especially since when we look at Keegan's success around here, top 5 last year. Sure, 2024 was pretty middling. You know, a couple more top 10s recently. I think there's a lot to say with that. I do. And if we were to zoom out a little bit, in fact, let's cover this here very, very quickly. Keegan, Jake Knapp, Thorbjornsson, Potgeider, Ben Griffin, Ryo Hitsatsune, Taylor Pendrith, Ricky, Minwoo Lee, and Ludwig are your top 10 in terms of average apex height, whereas the bottom half of this, the guys that hit it the lowest, Fitzpatrick, which would be dangerous, Daniel Berger, Joel Damon, Russell Henley, Brian Campbell, Ryan Fox, Ryan Gerard, Alex Noren, Nick Taylor, Chris Goddard. We all are, I would imagine most of us have seen Chris Goddard's play style, especially with his driver, hitting a lot of those stingers that seem like they only get to about head high and just roll out forever. If you do that, and especially approaching the greens here at Bay Hill, it could be an issue. So I thought that was fairly interesting. And if we zoom out and go 2025, you know, and take a look at apex height, Ricky starts to climb, Ludwig's there, Rory absolutely is there. He hasn't done it much in 2026. Again, small sample size. Sam Burns climbs up, Kurt Kitayama, who has won this before, Xander, and then, you know, at the bottom of this, Brian Campbell, Berger is still there, Russell Henley is still there, Fitzpatrick's still up near the bottom, Putnam, even though Andrew Putnam's had quite a bit of success around here, Matt McNeely, so on and so forth. So just giving you that info, which is really neat. But to answer your question, Trip, on why I'm down on Ludwig, Ludwig's club head speed has really drastically fallen off so far in 2026. And I don't know if I'm going to be able to look at that specifically for you. There's strokes gained. Miscellaneous. Here we go. Club head speed 120. But that is over the past 12 months. If I can get this to like the last 3 months, yeah, see, that doesn't change. Basically, what I'm getting at here, Trip, the reason why I'm not all that keen on Ludwig, I still don't think he's healthy. I just don't. He's lost 3 or 4 mile an hour of club head speed. Or maybe it's 1 to 2 mile an hour of club head speed and 3 to 4 mile an hour of ball speed. He's lost a lot of his speed. And you can see that in his long irons. His long irons used to be what were really, really good for Ludwig. He's still really good with his wedges so far in 2026. But his long irons haven't been as good. And that worries me, especially at a place like Bay Hill. So that's my reasoning, even if it was a little bit convoluted in trying to show you that in the rabbit hole. Again, you'll have to forgive me. I'm trying my best to try and get used to this new data site. But I did see that earlier in terms of like ball speed. Like, okay, here's a great example. Ball speed, he's at 179, but if you go back last 36, last 50, last 75, he was in the 180, even pushing 182. So he's lost 3 to 4 mile an hour of ball speed. You see the distance has drastically come down, especially in the last 8 rounds. I'm not too worried about the accuracy, but he's just, again, I just don't think he's fully healthy yet. Even though he's had a couple of decent performances, especially that top 20 at the Genesis. So missing the cut of the Farmers. Like the Farmers is kind of should be his wheelhouse, and he didn't play well. So I wanted to at least show you this information. I thought it was interesting, even though I didn't really put this in the mixed condition model. With Bay Hill being so firm and usually very fast, there is some information. I know somebody, it might have been you, John, a couple of weeks back. It might have been someone else. It's been a couple of weeks at least. Somebody asked about shot shaping. And while that is not in the rabbit hole at the moment, this is, somewhat synonymous with it. I can't say it's the same, but, it's something similar, and at least it's something to look at. So I wanted to put that information out to you. Feel free to use that however you wish, or if you think this is just a bunch of baloney and a bunch of crap, that's fine too. I will tell you that this is one reason why I am going to play a little bit of Keegan, because of this correlation between hitting it high and therefore in theory landing soft. But it didn't deter me from playing a couple of players down here that I really like as well. So again, take that for what you will. Been rambling on for a few minutes already, so why don't we just go ahead and jump into the mixed condition model that I've made for Bay Hill and talk about that. We're going to start with 10% in total driving. I mentioned this Monday night. The more I looked into off the tee type stuff around Bay Hill, the more I liked this total driving, which is a combination of accuracy and distance, which in theory is off the tee as well, but off the tee really favors distance. And while distance is important around here, you're gonna have to keep yourself in the fairway more often than not around Bay Hill. If you're consistently in the rough, it is going to be a long week for you. Good evening, Darnell. Thanks for jumping into chat. Very much appreciated. Going to win it all this week. I'll check in after the win. I wish you a bunch of luck on that. Would love to be able to shout out members of the community who have success. So go get that trophy, because I'm going to be gunning for that trophy as well. But obviously, if you have any questions, feel free to jump in chat. But I appreciate you jumping in there and watching and listening, even if it's just for a little bit, Darnell. Like I said, I really like this total driving, which is a combination of both accuracy and distance. If a player is first in both distance and accuracy, their sum is a 2. So then they're going to be really good. More often than not, it's like a tenth and a tenth, which would be 20. That would be the sum. And then it's ranked based on the sum. If a player is neither accurate nor hitting it far, think like Tom Hoagie, Christian Bezadenhout, those types of players, they're going to be really bad in total driving. So this is a way to figure out still who is really good off the tee, but maybe not necessarily favoring the distance. So I really like this because you're going to have to be in the fairway a little bit, a lot of bit around Bay Hill. 10% total driving, and I'm using the filter on difficult and very difficult courses. 15% strokes gain approach. I don't think that's any surprise. Players are going to have to be good with their irons to compete around here. And you see I've got even a little bit more of iron play in the 10% hitting greens or just getting greens in regulation when it's difficult and very difficult. Look, this is just simply a skill that some players have and some players don't, especially when scoring becomes very difficult. If a player is just simply able to find greens and hit greens in regulation, they might 3-putt every once in a while, but more often than not, they're going to get a par and they're going to move on. And pars are pretty good scores around Bay Hill, par 5s being the exception. So quite a bit in iron play with just flat out approach, the ability to hit greens, particularly when scoring is difficult, and 10% in 200 plus proximity, 32%. Almost a third of the approach shots around Bay Hill come from over 200 plus. Some of this is in the par fives, attacking those in two. Some of it is the long par fours. But there are a few forced layups around Bay Hill. Maybe not the 390, but like the 434 can be a forced layup. You see it plays to a tenth of a shot over par. 461, 467. You get a lot of 200 plus approaches, especially since players know they need to be in the fairway. A lot of times they will club down, to hit 3-wood to stay out of trouble. So lots of long iron proficiency, and I want to see who's been very good in long iron proficiency. Missing greens is going to happen. A player is not going to hit every green in regulation this week. It's just not going to happen. This is very difficult. These greens are difficult. You're going to have to rely on your short game a lot this week. Hopefully a lot less than others. That's how you're going to climb the leaderboard. But the times you do miss the green, you're going to need a tidy short game. 10% around the green when the rough is long. And that's been the common denominator for Bay Hill. A few years ago, they removed a lot of the tight lies and the fairway cut around the greens, which made it really difficult around Bay Hill, and they've since let the rough grow, and makes it a little bit. It's a different challenge, a little bit more random, but still 10% around the green when the rough is long. I've got two different putting metrics in here. I did this for PGA National last week. I did lower the percentage from PGA National. You see, I've got 5% on fast Bermuda putting, and there's not a whole lot of data in this, at least from the rabbit hole, because a lot of the courses from the rabbit hole are classified as average. So I had to go back quite a few years. I went all the way back to 2022 to get enough rounds for it to be considered fast on Bermuda. This is, mostly the Arnold Palmer. There's a year or two of the Sanderson Farms. There is a couple of U.S. Opens in here that were on Bermuda that were lightning fast greens. So I wanted to see who is very adept at putting on very fast Bermuda greens. I didn't want to ignore anybody who might be a specialist on Tiff Eagle Bermuda. So 10% putting, a little bit heavy, but I did split it out based on the specific surface, Tiff Eagle, which we're on this week, and in terms of just fast Bermuda putting in general. Bermuda Burns, that is right, Z. Thanks for jumping in chat. Very much appreciated. I concur completely. Sam Burns, I think, is number 1 in fast Bermuda putting. If he's not number 1, he's number 2. But these guys like Bermuda Burns, Bermuda Billy. I say it a lot of times whenever we are on Bermuda greens and those players are on or in the field that week. You just got to pay attention because some guys are specialists. So very good point, Z. Good shout out in chat for that. And thanks for jumping into chat. Much appreciated this evening. 5% birdies or better. There's not going to be a whole lot of eagles, but 5% birdies or better. Again, when scoring is difficult or very difficult. Look, pars are generally good scores around Bay Hill, but the winning scores do get up into the low double digits. Russell Henley, 11 under. Scotty, a little bit of an outlier here, 15 under, but he ran away. Clark, 10. Lowry, 9. Kitayama got to 9. Scotty's first time was only at 5. You're going to have to get a few birdies around here. Even par won't win the tournament. So I want to see who can get birdies still when it's difficult, 5%. But the more important part of the scoring is to avoid the bogeys. 10% bogey avoidance on difficult and very difficult courses. We finished the mixed condition model with 10% each on total par 3 performance, total par 4 performance, but with the caveat or the filter when the par 3s and the par 4s are difficult. Again, around Bay Hill, it is just very difficult. Par 3 scoring. Some of the hardest holes around here are your par 3s. 2/10 on the 2nd, 1/10 on the 7th, 1300ths, 1500ths. So what's that? 8th, 9th, 7th, and then what, 11th most difficult? But they still play over par. I mean, they're still difficult. And a lot of these par 4s are difficult. Your hardest holes on the course, the par 4 18th, a third of a shot over par. You have a 3/10 of a shot over par, quarter of a shot, quarter of a shot, quarter of a shot. These par 4s are brutal. So when scoring is difficult, especially on difficult par 3s and difficult par 4s, who can still get their pars, who might sneak a birdie every once in a while. I didn't put any par 5s in here. Generally speaking, most players are going to take advantage of the par 5s. I am going to be a little bit weak to that. I wish I could have put some par 5 in here, but I wanted to make sure I hit this greens metric, because that is a skill set that the players are going to need, just the ability to hit a green in regulation. So I am a little bit weak to the par 5 scoring. Hopefully the 200 plus proximity picks that up a little bit. Other areas where I might be weak, I don't think double bogey avoidance is going to be that big of a deal, although there is quite a few double bogeys around Bay Hill, especially with the water. So if double bogey avoidance is the thing we need to look at, if distance matters more than I'm giving it credit for, okay. Like I said, I'm big on this total driving metric for Bay Hill, but if I needed to look at off the tee, if I needed to look at distance, I'll be weak to that. I do have quite a bit around the green, so I feel pretty good about that. I'm a little bit heavy on the putting, 10%, but I did split it out between the specific surface and just fast Bermuda in general. There's a look at the mixed condition model that I made for Bay Hill. So we're going to go to Microsoft Excel. And when I reveal the rankings, I want to remind you all, and again, as a general reminder for returning viewers, for your information if you're a new viewer, my rankings are based on 3 criteria. The rabbit hole rank, which is a straight numerical ranking based on the mixed condition model that we just talked about, the metrics, percentages, all of that. The rabbit hole will spit out a numerical value or a numerical ranking for each player. If Scotty's in the field, if he's not number 1, something has gone drastically wrong. So the rabbit hole rank, the mixed condition model, is a big part of my rankings. Course value is an attempt at giving the player a numerical value at how well they have played that course. Most of the time I go back 5 years. However, for Bay Hill and the Arnold Palmer this week and this year, I've only gone back 2 years. And the reason being is that 2024 was the start of the current format, meaning 72 players, limited cut, limited field, all of that. So, like Kurt Kitayama's win is not in here. Matt Fitzpatrick doesn't have the best course value because he top 10'd the API in the early 2020s. So be aware of that. This is only going back 2 years. That's why Russell Henley has an amazing course value, because he's got a 1st and a 4th. Scotty has a really good course value. So just explaining that. So course history or prior course performance is a part of my rankings. And we are playing DFS. We're trying to find unique options off of our fellow contestants. So projected ownership, and these are from Gabe and his deluxe version of the Fringe. He does pretty well at trying to estimate what the ownerships are going to be. Projected ownerships are also a part of my rankings. So for the API, my rankings go as such. Russell Henley is my number 1 player. A lot of that is being driven by the fact that he's been very good here in the past 2 years. He's also pretty unique in the 9Ks. So he's getting helped. You see here, he is still 4th by the total number, or like the analytics. He's just getting helped by the other 2 facets of my rankings. Shane Lowry 2nd, Siwoo, Keegan, and 6,800 Daniel Berger round out my top 5. Again, Berger's getting helped by the fact that he is very unique compared to the others around him in the rankings. Hideki, Scotty, which again, I wouldn't put Scotty 7th. He was number 1 by the analytics. He's getting hurt because he is the 3rd most projected owned player, I believe. Sam Burns, Rory, and Colin Morikawa round out my top 10. Lowry, huge bounce back to get it done this week. Hey, good evening, Turkey. Thanks for jumping in chat. Much appreciated. I mean, it was a very, very gut-wrenching way to lose last Sunday at the Cognizant. Having said that, Lowry has been very good at Bay Hill too. He's still top 10 in irons early on in 2026, but he's putt Bermuda. I mean, fantastic over the past several years. Tiff Eagle Bermuda, he's been great when it's fast. He plays difficult par 4s well. There's still a lot to like with Lowry, even coming off the letdown or the choke job that he did last Sunday. So I don't see any reason why not to. And of course, it's really hard or almost impossible to quantify like strokes gained, bounce back, strokes gained, disappointment, whatever you want to call it. If you have a way to quantify that information, get in touch with me, because we're going to make a lot of money if you are able to do that. It's just very hard to do so. So I don't mind Shane Lowry this week. I really don't. The surprise here is probably Daniel Berger, but you see, even analytically, he rated out 10th. He's still darn near the top 10 in terms of irons early on in 2026. He's long enough, and he's really accurate whenever it's difficult. He hits greens. Yeah, his around the green performance has really, really lacked the past couple of years. But before his injury, he was a premier player on the PGA Tour. So I think he's getting close to back to that. And I think this could be a good week for him. Hideki, Scotty, Rory, all of this is fine. You can always argue the ordering, but how well Siwoo has played early in 2026 is no surprise he's up here. A little bit surprising to see Sam Burns. He's getting helped by the fact that he is, getting forgotten, essentially. But he is the number 1 putter on fast Bermuda greens. So, again, Z, very good shout there. He is 2nd on this specific surface. I don't really have anything to mention other than, wanting to talk about Daniel Berger. Keegan, who hadn't been very good so far in 2026, you can see the irons are abysmal right now. He's getting helped by the fact that he has been so very good around Bay Hill. Anyway, that's enough rambling. Let's sort on the price board, figure out where our fellow contestants seem to be going at various areas on the price board, and how we can maneuver around them. In the 5 digits, I'll say in the 10Ks, even though Scotty's at 14 and Rory's at 11.6. In the 10Ks, in the 5 digits, the crux of the poll question for the evening, where are you going in the 10Ks? I am actually fading 2 of these players. It's a little bit surprising to see that Scotty is the 3rd most projected owned player, Rory at 23%, Fitzpatrick at 23.5%. I know he's not 10K, but seeing Scotty as the 3rd most projected owned player, this guy is still the number 1 player in the world. Even though he seems to forget that the tournament starts on Thursday, I don't understand why Scotty isn't more owned. I am going to play metric F tons of Scotty this week. I'm not going to sit around Sunday bemoaning that I faded Scotty or telling myself it was always Scotty and not playing him. I'm going to play Scotty. Even with those horrendous starts at the Waste Management, at Pebble, at the Genesis, he still comes out in top 4 or T4, T6, and T12 or whatever it was. He's still the best player in the world. I'm going to play a bunch of Scotty. A bunch of Scotty. The other player I'm playing in the 10Ks might be a little surprising, but it's actually Rory. I am full fading Tommy. I'm full fading Xander. Dangerous game to play. I get it. But you cannot play everybody. You have to plant your flag somewhere. I've faded Rory the first 2 signature events, and that's come back to bite me. He's clearly in good form right now. He's played Bay Hill very well. His irons are really good right now. So I'm going to play Rory probably 30 to 40%. I'm going to play Scotty 50 to 60%. And I've built a few, very few, but a few lineups that are going balanced. But for the most part, I'm playing Scotty and Rory. And I'm not playing Tommy and I'm not playing Xander. And it's not the fact that I don't like them this week. I am kind of low on Xander. But again, you're going to tell me at roughly the same ownership, I know Scotty's a little bit more here, but at roughly the same ownership, you think Tommy has as much of a chance to win this tournament than Scotty does? If that's the stance you want to take, I'll agree to disagree. Scotty is the big favorite of the tournament for a reason. And to get him at what I perceive as an ownership discount, if these ownerships are indeed true, or they come out to be true, then I'm going to play a bunch of Scotty. The more ownership Scotty has, the worse it's going to be for me. So I'm hoping that Scotty is 20 to 25%. And if he is, that's way too low. Way, way too low. Still, number 1, when it's difficult, total driving, hitting greens, second around the green. The issue with Scotty is his long irons have not been good yet in 2026. But you even look at like the putting. I know it doesn't look great. He's been really good putting early in 2026. So even the perceived weakness that Scotty had has been kind of ironed out. I don't know. I think this is way too low of ownership. Good evening, P. Thanks for jumping in chat. Much appreciated. Hopefully you're ready for the API and the Puerto Rico if you're playing in, and wagering that as well. It was good to see you in chat this evening. Very much appreciated. And like I said, Rory, nothing wrong here. No bad statistic. I mean, in fact, Tiff Eagle Bermuda 33rd out of 72 is his worst. Number 1 birdie or better player when it's difficult and very difficult. Avoids bogeys as well. Like, I mean, I'm going to play the 2 big guns, and I'll just fade Tommy and Xander. So if they play well, I'll lose. But don't forget, Tommy missed the cut here a couple years ago. So did Matt Fitzpatrick. These 2 missed the cut 2 years ago. So it's not that Tommy is invincible, because he's not. You see the irons. They actually haven't been Tommy Fleetwood-like yet. He's been really bad so far. Early in 2026, it's only 2 tournaments. It's Pebble and it's the Genesis. So I mean, I wouldn't go get carried away. But so far early on, he hadn't been good with his long irons. So, and he's always not been the best on Bermuda. Speaking to Tommy, so Again, this is more of just an ownership thing. I'm gonna just play a bunch of Scotty. So that's the way I see the 10Ks. I am 50 to 60% Scotty. I'm 30 to 40% Rory. And I do have a minimal amount, but a few balanced lineups. Full fading Tommy, full fading Xander. Going into the 9s. I like Fitz, but I like Fitz more in an outright as opposed to DFS. This is, I mean, being the most projected owned player, I can get away from Fitz in terms of DFS. Because Fitzpatrick's floor is pretty low. He could, I mean, we talked about it. He missed the cut a couple years ago here. So when a player is volatile like that with the winning upside, but could also miss the cut, I generally prefer to bet those players outright as opposed to rely on them in DFS. The irons are great right now. The long irons have been very good. I'm not worried about this around the green. He's really good around the green most of the time. He's been excellent on Bermuda greens. But again, this ownership is hideous. So I'm going to play him a little bit. Understand that I play more than one lineup. I play many lineups. So, I'll play him, but I am under this 23. I'm under 20%. I'm probably even under 15% exposure to Matt Fitzpatrick. But the first wager I made for the Arnold Palmer was the outright on Fitz. So, just putting that out there. Nothing wrong with Colin. He's been playing well. This seems like it would be a good fit, although he hadn't been great around here. He's playing much better. He's doing it off the tee and with the irons. The putter's cooperating at least a little bit right now. Nothing wrong there. I am surprised that Henley's only at 10%. Defending champion, I know that doesn't guarantee that he'll play well the next year, but Henley's been really good around here. Really good, even though he lacks a lot of distance. Again, hitting greens is just a skill that guys need. And Russell Henley hits greens. Simple as that. And if he misses the green, he's usually pretty good around the green. Third in bogey avoidance. Top 10 in par 3s when it's difficult. It sucks because I'm playing a whole lot of Scotty and Rory. But any non-Scotty lineup is basically mandatory for me to put Henley in. Henley is in every single one of my balanced lineups, and I've put Henley with a few of my Rory lineups. I love Henley this week, especially at this 10%. Hideki, fine. The driver is a little bit worrisome, as we saw in Phoenix, him giving the tournament away basically, but irons are great. Long irons are great. He's always one of the best around the green players. So I like Hideki. I'm just higher on Henley. Siwoo's fine as well. A little bit more popular, so I kind of lowered my usage of Siwoo. But again, how well he's played early 2026. Can't be upset about that or surprised. A lot of people like Cameron Young. No thanks. I'm always going to be late on Cameron Young. His irons are just not there. Although he did have a very good Genesis. But he generally plays Riviera well. And then he comes to Bay Hill, and he's never been really good at Bay Hill. He's missed the cut and had like a 47th or something. Like he's not been good around Bay Hill. And until he figures that out, I'll just stay away. I'll let others play Cameron Young. No thanks. Bobby Mack, interesting, I would say, especially at sub 7%. The irons have been pretty bad other than the Sony early this year, but at least interesting. But his big bugaboo has been Bermuda putting. He's never been very good on Bermuda. So I stayed away from Bobby Mack in that regard. So yeah, in the 9Ks, I like Fitzpatrick. I wagered him. I'll play him a little bit, but I am basically, I don't want to say all in on Henley because I'm only playing him like 25 to 30% of the time. But anytime I can, I went to Russell Henley. I'll play a little bit of Colin. I'll play a little Hideki. I'll play a little Siwoo. But it's mainly Russell Henley in the 9s. Moving down to the 8s. There's a lot that I'm lukewarm on. Starting with Victor at 85. He's been okay around here. I think Victor's starting to turn a corner. You see how bad he's been around the green. That could be an issue around here, but he has contended around here a little bit. He hits greens, good driver of the golf ball. But much like Ludwig below him, Victor's also lost ball speed and clubhead speed over the past year and a half. So these two players I want to like, but the deep statistical weeds of the data don't paint a pretty picture. So I'm fully out on Ludwig. I sprinkled a little bit of Victor, not much. Goddard, interesting, I guess. He's never played here. This seems like it would be a decent fit as long as he can, figure out how to keep his ball on the green with his very low apex height. But third in greens when it's difficult. Eighth in difficult par 4s. It's great. I do worry a little bit because Bay Hill does take some time to get adjusted to. So be mindful of that. Kurt, fine. Again, his 2023 win is not factored in to his course value. So it's only collecting the 2024 when he missed the cut. That's why his course value is really bad. But we know Kurt Kitayama at least has some liking to Bay Hill. Irons are good. Total driving, a lot better than I thought it would be. It's actually been decent putter on this surface. So Kitayama's fine, especially if you're wanting to get off the chalk of Ludwig or Lowry. I don't mind Kurt Kitayama at all. I talked about it in the reveal of my rankings of the top 10, but even though he choked away last week, I'm still going to play Shane Lowry. He's been excellent around Bay Hill. Top 10 in irons. Almost top 5 in long irons early on in 2026. Top 15 hitting greens. And I just think hitting the green is going to be a skill set that these players just simply need this week. One of the best putters, both Bermuda, fast Bermuda, and on the surface. So I like Shane Lowry a lot. And I will play some Sam Burns, especially since he is so unique. You just have to hope that he keeps it on the planet off the tee. As long as he can get to the green, he'll be dangerous. But getting to the green could be an adventure. So that's how I see the 8s. Nothing up here. Like Jake Knapp, a lot of people are going to. I understand he's been playing great, but he's been pretty poor around Bay Hill. And there's a lot to be worried about, particularly with the driver. He generally plays his best when it's easy. I know the Genesis Riviera isn't easy, but the Genesis and Riviera is a lot easier than Bay Hill. I think Knapp's going to struggle this week. So that's my take on the 8s. Moving into the 7s. I kind of like Mav McNeely a little bit. Even though he's a California guy and most known for POA putting, he's just a good putter in general, especially on fast Bermuda. So plays difficult par 4s well. Very unique. There's a lot I like here with Mav. So I sprinkled some Mav in some of my lineups. I do think some regression is coming for Jacob Bridgman. If we take a look at Bridgman's page just very, very quickly, I think there's going to be some regression to the mean coming here. Bridgman 77. You take a look, like the irons have been great, no doubt about it. But he gained 7 on the greens out there at Riv. Gained 7 at the waste management. I'm sorry, that's just not sustainable. It's not. It is encouraging to see that the irons are a lot better, but this is simply not sustainable. 7, even 4.5 at the Sony. I just think some regression's coming, and that's nothing against Jacob Bridgman as the player. I just don't see. I don't see him keeping up the pace with the putter that he is on. So no thanks on Bridgman. J-Day's been good around here. I sprinkled him a little bit, although he really let me down. Was it at Pebble or was it at Genesis? One of the two. I was really high on J-Day, and he missed. I think it was the Genesis because he missed the cut. So I'm a little more sour on J-Day, but he has been good around Bay Hill, so it's worth a shot. Cootie, much like Chris Goddard, this seems like it's a good fit for him, but we'll have to wait and see. Bay Hill is notoriously difficult, and it's one of the most predictive courses year over year. So if you struggle at Bay Hill, you tend to continue to struggle at Bay Hill. I'm interested to see at the end of the week how Goddard and Pearson Cootie do with this being their first time here. Look, no thanks on Justin Thomas. If you're a big Justin Thomas fan or you want to believe the, stories that are out there that he's been practicing for a month, great. I'm just not going to play him or Sung Jae. Their first tournaments in 2026, just no thanks. I'll go to different places like Keegan. I'll sprinkle a little bit of Keegan. because he's been so good here. Not a lot, don't get me wrong. It's not like I'm going well above 8%. I'm more like 10% on Keegan. But I will play him because he's been so good here. And if he does not play well this week, I think we can write Keegan off for a while. But again, total driving, very good. Long iron proficiency, very good around the green. This is generally a good spot for Keegan. Sepp Straka is fine. I hate the ownership, but it's a lot more palatable than Nikolai. So I'll play some Sepp. Actually, that's a lie. I'll play quite a bit of Sepp to get away from Nikolai Højgaard. Sepp Straka is interesting. Never had much success around Bay Hill, and then finished tied for 5th last year. Has he figured out Bay Hill, or was last year an aberration? We'll see. The irons are still pretty good. He was really bad at Genesis, but a lot of that was due to the putter. So I think Sepp's going to be fine this week. And then moving down into the lower 7s, again, Højgaard, very popular, like extremely popular, 20%. I can't do it. He's been horrible around Bay Hill. I mean, horrible. And I understand he's playing a whole lot better now than what he used to, but I mean, my goodness, if you've not seen his performance around the Arnold Palmer, like, lost 4 strokes on the greens 2 years ago. He hadn't even really been all that good with the irons. He's always going to be okay off the tee. Like I said, I understand he's playing great right now, but 20% on a guy that has never played that course very well, no thanks. Just no thanks. And if he turns into a Sepp Straka in T5s this year, so be it. I went to Gerard instead of Højgaard. A lot of people seem to have that little bit of line of thinking. 3rd in irons. I do worry about some of his miscues with the driver, Z, but I don't hate the thought. I appreciate the thought of getting off of Højgaard. Gerard makes some sense, especially considering how well he's played early on this year. I do have some concerns, though. A lot of that with the putter on Bermuda. It's usually not very good. Very good irons, but he can hit some foul balls. If you do that around Bay Hill, you're in trouble. I just want to just casually mention Sam Stevens at 7,000. Sam Stevens plays long courses well. Bay Hill is a long course. I'm not saying that this player doesn't have warts, because he clearly does. His long irons so far in 2026 have been putrid. He is one of the worst putters on the surface. 70th and 70th out of 72 in both categories. Again, this is just a nod to the fact that he plays long courses usually pretty well. And he generally plays difficult courses pretty well. Like, we see his performance at the Farmers. The Farmers is a pretty good comparison course, albeit Poa Annua Greens versus Bermuda, but long, difficult. You got to have some distance. You got to be accurate. And it's not like he was horrendous around the Genesis at Riv. Top 20 that. But like his top performances, Farmers, Valero can get fairly long. CJ Cup, Byron Nelson, extremely long course. The difference is that one's easy. Corrales is long. So, I just wanted to casually mention Sam Stevens. It's not like I'm going crazy with it. I put him in, 1 or 2 lineups per contest just to get him in there. But especially getting off the chalk of Nikolai. Gerard's getting some ownership as well. So wanted to at least mention Sam Stevens. And then going into the 6Ks, you've got 2 players that are garnering all the attention, Corey Connors and Keith Mitchell. Connors is fine. I don't want any part of Keith Mitchell here. Just no thanks. This ownership is horrible for a 6K. Connors isn't much better, but the difference is Connors has been really good around Bay Hill. 4 top 25s in a row. Now, he's not been very good in 2026 at all. Irons have not been anything like Corey Connors. The putter is always generally pretty bad on Bermuda. But when major season rolls around, Masters, U.S. Opens, PGA, Connors is a perennial top 10 candidate because he keeps the ball in play. He's generally pretty good with his irons. He'll grind out his pars. Second in bogey avoidance, especially when it's difficult. That's why Connors. This is why I don't hate the idea of going to Connors if you want to or must. But I'm going to give you a couple other names in the 6Ks to think about instead of getting on the chalky play of Corey Connors. The first is Ryo Itatsune. Ryo's been great in 2026. Again, mid to upper sixes. You're getting a guy that's been hitting his irons very well. Total driving, I don't know. This just doesn't seem accurate for Ryo because he's much, much better now. I know this is going back to 2025, but I think Ryo's turned a corner in his professional career. He's always been pretty darn good when it's difficult. It's just the off the tee has been an issue, or total driving. So he's the number one player on difficult par threes. There's enough upside here with Ryo. So I want to gravitate your attention to Ryo at 67. To use P's terminology, if you're going dumpster diving, I actually don't hate 6,000 Andrew Putnam. Andrew Putnam's got a lot of success around Bay Hill. Top 10 2 years ago. Has at least one other top 10 or top 15. Despite the fact that he's not very good off the tee and he's not long at all, he just knows how to get around Bay Hill. There's something about this course that he likes. A lot of it's probably with the around the green. He's very good around the green. He's a very good putter on Bermuda. There's a lot of red here. I get it. But in your Scotty lineups, in your Rory lineups, I think you can do worse than a literal minimum priced Andrew Putnam at 6,000. But the main player that I want to put on your radar is Daniel Berger. Being fifth in my rankings, I wouldn't put him fifth, but I would certainly have him top 10 in my rankings if I were just going through it. The irons are starting to come around again. He's always very, very good when it's difficult. Just hits greens, keeps the ball in front of him. He's got enough distance, decent enough putter on this surface. He used to be really good putter on Bermuda. 10th and 12th, par 3s and 4s when they're difficult. I'm going to play a whole lot of Daniel Berger. I'm playing a whole lot of Ryo Itatsune too. And if they don't play well, I'll lose. But I'm playing lots of these too because I'm playing a lot of Scotty. So there's a look at the price board. Let's start making some lineups, figure out lineups that our fellow contestants seem to be making. And, of course, get ready to make some suggestions on the lineup that we're going to put in the big GPP towards the end of the show. I mean, you see the DraftKings is up there. I am ready. We're going to put a lineup into a GPP. So be ready to put some suggestions out there. But let's start making some chalky lineups, how we think our fellow contestants are going to be building lineups this week. The most ownership is Matt Fitzpatrick. Rory is the highest one in the 10Ks. So I'm just going to use Rory. This could be Scotty. This could be Tommy. This could be Matt Fitzpatrick. But I'm just going with the highest ownership there. We have Keith Mitchell and Corey Connors in the 6Ks. We'll go to Keith Mitchell, who is percentage points higher than Corey Connors. You've got Højgaard in the low 7s, garnering a whole lot of attention. And then moving up in the price board, Pearson Coody, Sepp Straka's at 14%. If we think they're going to try and squeeze in Fitzpatrick as well, doesn't give them a whole lot of wiggle room. Instead, if we go to, well, Colin doesn't give them a whole lot either. You could see maybe a few lineups like this. And this is Corey Connors. You might see a few lineups like this with Rory Fitz and then coming down and doing a double six. I usually try to stay away from double six when estimating, chalky lineups, because a lot of fellow, the way I perceive it, a lot of our fellow contestants seem to be averse to going to 6Ks in general, but hard to argue with these two garnering that much attention. So that's one way a lineup could look, I suppose. If they are not doing the double six, this would be Nikolai. I guess we'll do Sepp. An 8 and maybe a low 9. Like Ludwig would be in this. And then Victor's getting some attention as well. Jake Knapp could also... I understand this is 100 over. But this could be also another very popular style of Rory lineup. Going Rory and then down into like Jake Knapp and Ludwig, or Knapp and Lowry, Ludwig and Lowry, based on what you think, you can adjust. If they build balanced lineups, it looks like they're starting with Fitz. Let's do Fitz, Colin. Whoops. Definitely bottoming out at Nikolai. I don't want to use the same players. Let's do like Pearson Cootie here, who's getting some attention. Minwoo's at 11%. Ricky Fowler's at 11%. Lowry could absolutely be in this at 13%. 77 is not really anybody. Like I said, I hate using the same players, but the ownership seems to be gravitating towards these particular players. Let's do Minwoo. He's getting some ownership. That's what a more balanced build would look like, I suppose. Fading the entire 10Ks, going to Fitz, and then Morikawa, or Fitz and Siwoo, leaving themselves a little bit more money. They can come up off of Minwoo or Lowry. Pretty hard to build Scotty lineups this week with the 14-1 price tag. So how have I been doing it? Again, I've been building 3 basically sets of lineups. I'll start with my least common, which is balanced lineups. And when I've been doing that, I'm doing Russell Henley. And he doesn't have to be first, but I've been doing Russell Henley. He's been in 100% of any lineup that doesn't include Scotty and Rory, and he's in a few of my Rory lineups. In this case, I do like Matt Fitzpatrick, but he's so widely owned, we could go to Colin. Let's just go to Fitz. I think Henley's going to give us enough uniqueness, but the way I've been doing it, instead of going down into the 8s to grab like a Jake Knapp or a Ludwig like the others have, I've been getting greedy. I've been getting really greedy. I'll do a Hideki. I'll do a Siwoo with these two. Let's do Siwoo. No, let's do Hideki. Just to get a little bit less ownership here. I've been getting greedy and doing 999 if I'm building my balanced lineups, because I'm not afraid to go into the 6s. I'll do Rio. I'll do Daniel Berger. Even Corey Connors. Because I think the 999 start is going to be pretty unique, even if the individual players aren't unique. It's the shell that I'm banking on being unique. Down here in the low 7s, you can look at Keegan. You can look at Gerard, which Z mentioned. Like I said, I mentioned Sam Stevens. Why don't we come even further? Let's go Rio. Rio Hitsatsune. This gives us, a little bit more wiggle room. Probably can't fit an 8, but you can go into the upper to mid 7s, like Matt McNeely would work here. Jason Day, if you're willing to take that chance. Pearson Cootie, a little bit more popular, but you could do that. Like I said, I would just stay away from like Højgaard. Try to stay away from Sepp Straka, but he's probably just going to fit in this. Let's do Mav McNeely and Sam Stevens. Very unique, very, very unique lineup here, especially if you're doing like the 999 and willing to go down into the sixes, because most of the time a 999 would indicate a 777. But this is the way I've been building what I'm calling balanced lineups this week. Just getting away from all of the ownership up here. And again, I don't have to play Fitzpatrick. I can play Colin and get even more off of the chalk up here. But every one of these lineups has been Russell. So that's one way I've been going about it. I'm going to build my Scotty lineups for you. And Rory is basically the same. I just have more money to play with. But my Scotty lineups, I don't have any problem going all the way down to Andrew Putnam. I have no problem doubling up in the 6Ks, doing like Rio or Daniel Berger. And this gives me quite a bit of freedom in the middle part of the price board. I can come up to an 8K if I want to. Like we can do it like a Chris Goddard if we wanted to. Sepp Straka can fit into this easily. Maybe instead of Chris Goddard, maybe it's Shane Lowry. Or if you want the ultimate pivot, it's Sam Burns. You can even... I've done many lineups where I'm triple. Well, I'm 666. Go Goddard and like Shane Lowry. And just like avoid the sevens altogether. Avoid all the chalk in the sevens. Avoid the Cootie and the Straka and then Højgaard and the Gerard. That's one way you can go about it. You can go, a little bit more balanced, if you will. Daniel Berger. I would go Sepp. And then 7,400. Jordan Spieth might be interesting. I wouldn't go to Højgaard because Scotty and Højgaard. Billy Ho thoughts. Like you're playing Billy Horschel for the putter. Obviously, it's Bermuda Billy, much like Bermuda Burns. But boy, there's not a whole lot to like here. P. Top 10 in difficult par threes, sure, but the irons haven't been very good. He can hit some foul balls with the best of them, and really, even his around the green hasn't been great. Like, I don't know, P. I understand the thought process behind it with, difficult and Bermuda greens and all that. I was a little bit disappointed to see how much he has struggled early in 2026. Let's just bring up his page very quickly. Billy 61. It isn't pretty. There's a whole lot of red in here. The Cognizant, which again, fast Bermuda greens, you would think he'd be pretty good. Wasn't very good at all. Now a lot of that's around the green. That's pretty Jekyll and Hyde. You can forgive that because around the green's not very consistent. But like, what has he done this year? One top 30 at the Amex. Missed the cut at the Farmers. Missed the cut at Waste Management. There's just not a lot to go on here, P. So, never really crossed my mind past, Bermuda Billy. Bermuda Billy, no. It's about where it ended. So that's the way I've been building some of my lineups, or that's the way I've been building my Scotty lineups. And if I come off of a Goddard up, that gives me even more room to play. But I have no problems doing 666 or even 666. All right. Let's make a lineup very, very quickly for the GPP. Remember, this is a big GPP with multiple entries. We're only doing one. So we're going to need to find a lot of uniqueness in how we're building this lineup. Since this is my money, my account, I'm going to make an executive decision that no matter what we do, we're going to play Russell Henley in this lineup. Because I have that power. But I just like everything with Russell Henley. Very unique. Not going to break the bank, especially if we go to Rory. If we go to Scotty, it's going to be a little bit more difficult. But Russell Henley isn't really taking anybody off the table for us to play. So I will open it up to chat and the community. Just throw out some names and suggestions on types of lineups that you want to see that we can build for the GPP, Rio and Putnam. So Echoes is kind of on my wavelength with getting a very, very unique, going double sixes. Okay. If we did that, I mean, we probably have enough for Scotty. We would definitely have enough for Rory. But that's another question we need to answer is like, are we building a balanced lineup? Are we going to leave a lot of money on the table? Try to get unique that way. So like I said, feel free to put your thoughts, opinions, shout out stuff in chat there. And we're going to build a lineup as a community for the API. In the meantime, the answer for me for the poll question, obviously, I'm going to fade Tommy and Xander. Leave money on the table is an option. Somebody is saying. It looks like most of our community here at Calls is going to play some Rory. He is the least voted option of players that are being faded. Russell is kind of cemented for us in here. I'll highlight him. I'm making the executive decision that we play some Russell Henley. But otherwise, I'm pretty open. Like if we put Scotty on this, like we'd probably have to do another 6K, but it's possible. It might be Minwoo's week. We've got a mention for Minwoo Lee. I'm not there with Minwoo Lee, but I've heard a lot of people talk about Minwoo Lee. He rated pretty darn low for me, P. Mostly because his irons generally don't rate out well, but there's no denying he is very long and usually pretty accurate with the driver. But again, the irons, I could see him having some trouble. He did finish top 30 here last year, so I mean that's not nothing. Pretty poor when it's been difficult. So there was enough for me to get away from Minwoo, but if others want to tag in Minwoo, and I'll put him in here. This is the community's lineup. Like Minwoo would absolutely fit like here or even above, depending on how much money people wanted to save. Get unique that way. Echo says Burger, you're going like triple six. Can't quite get to Scotty. But you could go Rory. So we've got a shout for Burger. Got a shout for Minwoo Lee. I will say we got much closer last week to cashing at the Cognizant than we did at the Genesis. Genesis was really poor. We were pretty close at the Cognizant. Didn't quite get across the pay line, but we were close. If we do Henley, Minwoo, I don't know about if going to Minwoo at 79. I don't know if we're going to need a triple six Echoes. I do like your Rio and Andrew Putnam that you said first. You mentioned Burger afterwards. 10,000 per play. John says Siwoo. Okay. So we've got a vote for Siwoo here. I don't hate that at all. Like if we go Minwoo Lee, Siwoo, like we still have enough for Tommy. We have enough for Xander, Fitz, and still leaving some money on the table. we are very, very unique as of right now. So I don't hate that at all. I kind of like this kind of structure here with Henley being our number 2. So we can't fit Rory. We can't fit Scotty. Who else? Who of these 4 are we putting in? Are we putting Tommy? We putting Xander in? We putting Fitz? Or are we putting Morikawa in? I do like the idea of doing a 999 with a double 6. Just getting real unique, real out there. I like that idea a lot. So who's it going to be? Is it Tommy? Is it Xander? Is it Fitz? Or is it Colin Morikawa? We have 1 vote for Fitz. We have 1 vote for Fleetwood. So if somebody can break that tie, or I'll break it if no one else says anything, we're going to do Fitz, I think. I know you said Fleetwood, P, but I'm just full fading Tommy this week. So let's go ahead and put that lineup in, and we're putting leaving 1,000 on the table. So we're going to go over to DraftKings. Let's put this lineup in. We've got Fitz, Henley, Siwoo, Minwoo Lee, Ryo Hitsatsune, and all the way down at the bottom, Andrew Putnam at 6,000. And I will take us back, or I'll take us actually over to the 2026 Picks Challenge. Oh, really quickly, before I forget, I need to give you my core. My core is Scotty, Rory. Of course, this is not all in the same lineup. Russell Henley, Mav a little bit, Sepp, Berger, Ryo, and then Putnam. That's my core for this week. I'll highlight these 2. A little bit of shade of orange. They're a little bit lower than the others. But that's my core for the week. These 8 or so players. I'm playing, 40 to 50%, or excuse me, 50 to 60% Scotty, 30 to 40% Rory, a little bit of balanced lineups, which all include Russell Henley. And then I'm using a bunch of Berger, Ryo, and Putnam because I'm using the guys up top. All right, very quickly, let's go to the 2026 Picks Challenge between Gabe and I. For the Arnold Palmer, I'm going to pick Matt Fitzpatrick to win. That was the first outright I put on my betting card this week. Maybe not necessarily in DFS with all of his ownership, but I really like Fitz this week. And then Gabe's going to go with Xander. So right off the bat, I am in pretty big disagreement with Gabe there. Favorite play, I know this seems odd to list Scotty as my favorite play. This is all based on his ownership. If Scotty is indeed anywhere between 20 to 25%, I think that's way too low. I'm going to be clearly way over that. That's why I'm listing Scotty as my favorite play. And Gabe's going to go with Victor Hovland as his favorite play. I'm going to fade. I listed Tommy. I could have said Xander. I'm just going to list Tommy. Gabe's going to fade Jake Knapp. I don't disagree there. Mad Scientist play. Looks like we're both in agreement here. I'm going to go to Daniel Berger. I also like Gabe's suggestion of Andrew Putnam. Fear of missing out. I will play a little bit of Nikolai Højgaard just because he is on such a tear, such a heater right now. But his ownership is ugly. Do be mindful of that. His ownership is ugly at 20%. Gabe's going to make sure to roster some Ludwig. And then our wild card category. This is a double tournament week. So we're going to try and pick the Puerto Rico Open winner. I'm going to select Rasmus Nergaard Peterson. Love everything about the player. I think it's just a matter of time before he becomes a big star on the PGA Tour. So give me RNP in Puerto Rico. And Gabe is going to pick Ricky Castillo to win in Puerto Rico. Well, that's going to be it for a DFS Tactics show for the API this week. I want to thank John, Echoes, Trip, Joanne, Darnell, Z, Turkey, and P for jumping into chat. Very, very much appreciated. Thanks to everyone else out there who tunes in, watches, listens, supports the channel by liking the videos, commenting, and subscribing. I always appreciate it. I love what I do. Taking a very in-depth look at golf statistics, giving you a statistician and data analyst view of what he sees, trying to help us all win a little bit of money in the process. Again, reach out to me on social media if you have any last-minute questions for the API or the Puerto Rico Open. Again, there's a lot of value to be had in that alternate field event. Thanks again for all the support, for all of the wagers you've made this week for the API and the Puerto Rico Open, for all the DFS contests you play this week for the API and the Puerto Rico Open. For this weekend and every weekend, may all your bets be profitable.